Hi and welcome to the Homeopathy Health Show. I'm Atiq Bhatti, a fourth-generation homeopath with over 20 years of professional experience in this field of healing. In the Homeopathy Health Show, I'll be talking all things homeopathy and natural, with guest interviews, tips and advice, and answering some of your questions. Homeopathy is truly a unique complementary system of healing suitable for all ages, young and old. I'd love to hear from you and welcome your questions on homeopathy and how it can or has helped you. Feel free to email me at health@liketreatslike.co.uk or visit www.liketreatslike.co.uk for more information. Whilst you're there, take a look at the Knowledge Academy and blog section, where you will find interesting information. Both sections are growing day by day, so always check back. So let's begin today's show on UK Health Radio, the world's #1 talk health radio, real feel-good radio. I am delighted to welcome Marcus Fernandez to the Homeopathy Health podcast. Now, Marcus is the founder and principal of CHE, which is the Centre for Homeopathic Education, which he founded in 1998. And we are going to talk about this, of course, later on in today's podcast. Now, Marcus has been practicing and teaching homeopathy for the last 26 years or more. Marcus, welcome to the Homeopathy Health podcast. How are you?
Thank you very much. Great to be here. And I'm feeling good. Yeah.
Brilliant. Now, my first question to you, something I ask all my guests, what led you to homeopathy? As I know you were in a rock band and you wanted to be a rock and roll star, which actually reminds me of Professor Brian Cox, because he had a D-ream and things can only get better.
Exactly. Well, yeah, but he was more pop. We were more rock, probably more punky, I'd say. That's right. Yeah, I used to be in a band, and that's what I wanted to be. I was, that's all I wanted to be. I was a singer in a band. And and I used to gig, and we that's what I did full time. And how I got into homeopathy, and I've said this many times, you never decide to get into homeopathy. It calls you when the time's right. And I wasn't looking for it. Like I said, I was very happy with what I was doing. But I was about to go on tour with our band to Germany, and being a sort of poor musician like we all were, we got paid from our gigs, and you only got paid when you did the gig, sometimes not as much as you hoped. But but I had no money. So I had to go and get a job. And so I went into the only job I could get at the time, which was like 1991. I don't know if you remember, there was a recession on here in the UK. And the only job I could get was working in a nursing home, working with elderly people. And it was a nursing home that specialized in dementia and Alzheimer's. And so I started working there. And it was ridiculously low paid, £2.50 an hour. I remember that distinctly, for night shifts as well as the day shift. So I started working there, and again, I had no inclination to be in the care, in care or working in care. And I was having a cup of coffee one day in the staff room, and one of the nurses that worked there said to me, we're talking, and then she said to me, you know what? I think you'd make a really good homeopath. And I said, what? Because I never even heard of the word. She said, yeah, you make a really good homeopath. She said, I'm going to do this course. There's an open day. Why don't you come along with me? And I was like, yo, hang on a minute. You don't understand. I'm in a band. I'm only going to be here for a few weeks. So, I'm not into thank you, but no thanks. No, I think you should come. I've got a really good, strong feeling about this. You should come along with me. I said, no, thanks. And I think I drank my coffee and off I went. But every time I saw her, every day after that, she'd say the same, oh, please come with to this open day. I really feel it strongly you should go. And in the end, I'll come with you to the open day, but I'm not signing up. I'm just going to keep you company and just to make you stop asking me to go. And she was over the moon. So anyway, the days roll by, the weeks roll by, and it was the day before the open day. And I woke up that morning, had a terrible sore throat. I had tonsillitis, which I used to get a lot. And I used to sing in the band, so I often it would aggravate it. And I thought, right, I tried first of all, I tried to get in to see the GP because I'd normally get antibiotics or whatever I got, and I couldn't get in. So I said, right, I'm going to try this homeopathy stuff. If it works, then I'll go to the open day. If it doesn't work, I'm not going to go. So I remember getting the bus into town, went to the local health food store, and there was all this homeopathic section and all these weird and wonderful names, arsenicum, pulsatilla, Nux vomica. And I thought, God, that's a great name for a band, Nux vomica. So I looked at all this. Anyway, I found the remedy for me, which was gelsemium. It matched my symptoms. It looked like what I had. I had a headache, like a band around the head, a bit achy as well with a sore throat. Went home, took it, and I remember I fell asleep. And then I woke up the next morning I woke up a couple of hours later and I was sweating. I was soaking wet from sweat. I think, oh my God, this is strong. Took another one. This happened all day. I remember going out that night, being in the pub, and I was like really sweating. And I woke up the next morning, no tonsillitis. Disappeared. And in fact, I've never had it since. That was 30 odd years ago. So I went to the open day. So I went along, still not wanting to, had no inclination of signing up to the course. And there was somebody speaking there, a teacher explaining homeopathy, their experience of homeopathy. And it was the late, great Robert Davidson, who set up the Society of Homeopaths with Martin Miles, and also the first College of Homeopathy in the UK for lay practitioners. So he was talking. And I remember when he was talking, just feeling really still inside. It's like everything just stopped. And I remember thinking, I've never felt this before, but I went really quiet. And what I think I was doing was I was hearing truth for the first time. Something resonated so deeply within me that I know this. I know what he's saying, but I couldn't really articulate what it was. So that was my first. And the first thought I had after that was, if this is true, how come the whole world doesn't know about it? And then my second thought was, I'm going to make sure the whole world does know about it. And yeah, you guessed it, I signed up. and the rest is history, as they say.
It is amazing. And the guests that have come on, I always ask them this question, what's your journey to homeopathy? And as everybody has that same, not exactly the same, but similar examples in their life. It's almost like an attraction, or by chance something happened, they became unwell, and somebody, their mother or their mother's sister or a friend of the family said, why don't you try this? And as a result of being cured, literally, where any symptoms of any ailment don't exist anymore, they became convinced. And that's the power of homeopathy. And I was saying to Hermann Kepler, who's the founder and principal of the College of Naturopathic Medicine, he's a homeopath. And I was saying to him that, look, it's been over 200 years now. And that power is more, for want of a better word, powerful than it was ever before. Now is the time for homeopathy. This is the time. This is the way, the society that we're living in, the connected world, the different frequencies that we're all bombarded with day in and day out. This is the time for homeopathy having this renewed interest. Certainly, I'm seeing it everywhere. I'm sure this is the case with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I mean, I still practice. I'm still a practitioner. And as you said, the demand has never been greater. And I think really, for me, the fundamental shift was the lockdown pandemic. And I think what it did for literally the whole world, everybody paused. And because it was about health, people, I think, were deeply shocked that medicine science, especially in the beginning, wasn't there to rescue them. But it also made people stop and think. It made them stop and think about the health, realize they have to take charge of their own health and well-being, where also people looked at their own lives, thought, what am I doing with my life? Because fundamentally, people want purpose and meaning in their life. And I think it was a real pause for people to reflect. And because of people now thinking, I've got to now sort of empower myself. I've got to get this knowledge. I've got to know how to look after myself, my family, my extended family. People were looking for other things and a more natural healthcare based solution. So I think you're right, the time is now. This is our time for homeopathy, but also it's because there's demand for it. I remember talking to Tony Pinkers of Ainsworth Pharmacy here in London, and I know it's the same with Helios, that during the pandemic, during lockdown, they had queues going all the way down the street to the homeopathic pharmacy. They couldn't deal with the amount. John Morgan told me at Helios Pharmacy, they had to shut the website down because they could not deal with the orders that were coming in, people wanting homeopathy. So yes, I think this is the golden age for homeopathy. But we need to be practicing it. And that's why, to me, we need more practitioners who are doing it in order to help people and to serve people.
It's fascinating, that example you've just given with Helios on Ainsworth's, because when lockdown first happened, of course, something new, something unknown, there is always this uncertainty. But it's amazing. My personal experience is that I've never been busier. But the phone wouldn't stop ringing. It just rang and rang. And it was a myriad of things. People who were feeling lonely, people who felt, not necessarily they were depressed, but they certainly felt sad. They felt down. There was this this worry and this fear of being in a new situation. And it didn't make things easier to know others were actually in the same situation, because at that time for those who are perhaps not in large families, they felt very, very lonely. And I had so many people and so many different conversations. And like I said, and I know the listeners are going to say, uh-oh, not again, but everybody has a story. And I listened to those stories, and, it really opened up. I mean, as a homeopath, Marcus, you know very well, homeopaths have a lot of love and compassion. That's why we want to help people. We literally want to heal the world, And I found that there were so many people that you could have that link with, of compassion and love, and to talk to them. 50% of the treatment was there just by talking and listening, and they felt reassured. So something positive came out of it as a result, as far as people being, trying to take healthcare into their own hands as such, and being realistic and thinking about, well, do I want to go this route? I'm not saying homeopathy is that's the way only. I'm saying there's a choice. People were actually a bit more open. It might be Chinese medicine, it might be Ayurvedic medicine, it could be anything. But people have become a bit more aware that, look, there's other options there if you're not satisfied with the one that you're using at the moment.
Absolutely. And I think it comes back to the basis, really, of which I truly believe, that is that all the healing wisdom you're ever going to need is within you. You already have it. You cut your hand, you cut your finger, it bleeds, and then it heals. We're talking now, you may have just had your lunch or your breakfast, it's digesting, we're unaware of what's going on unless you eat too much. But the healing wisdom of the body is incredible. And when we realize that wisdom, that we already have it, that's an incredibly empowering sort of place to be. And that we've got to look at ways of stimulating what we call the vital force in homeopathy, or they call it prana in Ayurveda, or chi in Chinese medicine. And that's what homeopathy is great. Because to me, homeopathy and homeopathic remedies are keys to a lock. It's keys to a lock. And what those keys do, it's like a key to a Ferrari, or a key to a fast car, or key to any car. The key in itself is not powerful. It's the interaction with that ignition. And that's all we're ever doing, is helping that ignition of the body's vital force. And this is why we had a course called we still got it, called the Home Prescriber course, online course. It was like 5 hours, but it's basics of homeopathy, how to use it in the home. And we used to charge that. We just gave it away for free. And we had over, nearly 40,000 people now have watched that around the world. Because again, we were getting emails, people saying, oh my goodness, I didn't know homeopathy even existed until I got this link and I watched it. Oh my God, I wish I had known about this years ago for my kids. Or so once you, and this is my passion to tell people that homeopathy exists. Most people don't know about homeopathy. We as homeopaths, we think everybody does. They don't. You go out in the street and ask 10 people what is homeopathy, or 100 people. A lot of people won't know what it is. So I think as homeopaths, part of our job is to help educate people and spread the word around homeopathy.
I think your energy is magnetic, and no wonder you founded the CHE, which we're going to go into now. I mean, it's really good to talk to you because the energy levels are so high. What remedy did you take before the podcast?
I didn't take any remedies, just for the record. I took no remedy before camera. But to me, that's what it should be about. We should about vitality, isn't it? Because
absolutely,
most people's concept of health is not being sick, but it's much more than that. It's about the way we wake up in the morning. It's vitality.
Yeah,
and I think that as healers, as homeopaths, we need to be walking the talk. We have to be vital. I don't want to go and see somebody who's sicker than I am. I want to get somebody who's more healthy, more vital than I am if I want to get well and balance my health and well-being.
You know what's amazing about, excuse me, what's amazing about homeopathy is that it's not just for people.
No. It's
for plant life. It's for animal life. It's absolutely amazing. And it's not different remedies for different, it's not arnica for humans to take and a different remedy for plants. It is actually the same remedy, arnica, as long as the symptoms match and the vibration picks up the remedy, the resonance happens. Totally. And that's it.
That's it. Let me give an example of that. So I got a student in Budapest in Hungary, and I went over to the graduation one year, and this lady had done a whole project around, she was an agriculture engineer, and she did this project where they grow peppers. And apparently in the growing the peppers procedure, which I know nothing about growing peppers, by the way, but she was explaining that they have to snap the stem at a certain point. And what she did, when they went to snap the stem, she gave the plants, and you're talking about a lot of plants here. This is like, I don't know how big this place was. Solution, they give it arnica first of all, before and after, and then followed it up with hammermillis. And she explained the arnica for the trauma of snapping the stem, but also the hammermillis, which is also good for trauma, because we give it, for example, for varicose veins and the venous system of the body. Well, that she was using hammermillis because of the damage to the veins really of the plant. And she said the crop yield went up 40% after giving these homeopathic remedies. So you're absolutely right. Whether or not you're a plant, you're an animal, you're a human, homeopathy works. And it's the same remedies.
Brilliant.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
Now, your passion, of course, for homeopathy led to something, in my personal opinion, which is really, really great. It led to something, or the founding of something, I think, which is incredible, to be honest with you. And that is the CHE, which is the Center for Homeopathic Education. Now, you founded this in 1998. And as a result of that, I think, especially in the UK, you've trained hundreds and hundreds of homeopaths. Thousands. So do share. Yes, thousands. Do share with us how that came about and what was actually involved, because it may sound easy, but I'm quite sure perhaps it wasn't.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because we on Sunday I was near the Natural History Museum, and next door to that is the Imperial College, and so we founded in CHE in 1998, myself and two other colleagues, and the course ran from Imperial College for 4 years. So it was interesting. It's the first time I've been back since we left. We left there in 2002 to go back there and to say, yeah, 25 years ago, because 25 years ago since we founded it, it started from here, and how time flies when you're having fun. But the idea at the time, why we founded CHE was homeopathy was very was very like anything. There's politics involved, and at the time in the 90s here in the UK, it was very classical homeopathy. Well, basically, you give one. This is very basic, one remedy and wait. Or practical, well, basically you gave more than one remedy, or you could give more than one remedy at the same time. So you're in either camp often. It's like you're either in the classical or in the practical. And my feeling has always been that there's never one way to do anything. It shouldn't be methodology driven. It should be patient driven. So at CHE, we're very eclectic. We teach all different types of prescribing because one spanner does not fit all nuts. You need a tools in the toolbox. So whoever walks through your door, you've got a prescribing technique or a spanner in order to deal with that person. So the person's at the center and you choose which methodologies to use because there's not, what I said, one right methodology. Because it's about the patient. So you adjust your prescribing to the person who's sat in front of you. And that was really the basis of starting CHE. Also, our patron I'm very inspired by, and I was very inspired by, and he was my mentor, was Dr. Robin Murphy, who sadly passed away last year. But he was really the inspiration of founding CHE with that paradigm of actually there's many ways to treat people, but you've got to be knowledgeable and have tools in the toolbox. So we were very lucky. Normally start with 1 year because it was a 4-year course, 4-year part-time, 1 year. But actually we started with 4 years because people came from other colleges and joined. So we started off from day one in 1998, 4 years running straight away.
Amazing. You know what you've just said about classical and practical is really, really important. And I get asked a lot by homeopaths, but by generally as well. Oh, are you those who certainly know about homeopathy, are you a classical homeopath or other? And it's always other. I said, no, I'm neither. I'm a homeopath and I have in front of me a toolbox, and in that are different tools. They could be a single remedy. It could be a complex combination. It could be spagyric remedies. It could be Narayani remedies. It could be anything. It could be pleomorphic nosodes, whatever it is, it could be batch flower remedies.
Yeah.
What I'm concerned about is I want to help you, and these are the remedies that I have in my toolbox. And depending on you, I can pick and choose. And I think that's really, really important. And I know Colin Griffiths was on the podcast a few weeks ago. And he was speaking in similar tones to what you're saying. It's homeopathy and how you choose to use it for your patient. Everyone is an artist. A homeopath is an artist.
Yeah.
But it depends, on your own technique. And that's a gift. That's a really, really big gift, isn't it, Marcus? Because you can adapt and mold. Yeah. Yeah.
Because again, the patient's the most important thing. It's like if somebody wants to come to be treated, they're trusting that you have got a range of possible tools that you could use. So imagine going to the garage and you go to a garage, you have your car repaired, but they've only got one size spanner. You're going to cut down the amount of cars you can work on. No, they have a whole drawer of spanners. And there's a good example. I mean, Colin Griffith, he's one of our main lecturers at CHE. But you've got Colin who practices it in the way that he practices it. But then you've got people incredibly classical and incredible at CHE. But everybody's got mutual respect. Why? Because our motive is to serve people the best we can. And so we've all got mutual respect at CHE. Even though we may see homeopathy different in all different ways of prescribing, it doesn't matter. Our mutual respect is from who people are, not necessarily what they do. It's where they're coming from, because we all want the same thing.
Absolutely. And that's the key, isn't it? We are all on the same hymn sheet as such, because the objective is very much to serve humanity. And we certainly know homeopathy is not no homeopaths in it for the money. No. It's about helping, it's about serving, it's about giving back. And I tell you, it's the best feeling, isn't it, Marcus, to know that you've just helped somebody and their life is back on track. It's just amazing.
Exactly. And, every day I think I just feel so blessed and have gratitude that's homeopathy in my life. It's in the life of my children. It's in the life of my family, because like you said, it's often we get cases, and you know this, Atiq, that we'll get cases often when people have gone through the whole medical system and you're the last resort. And so, again, that can be a challenge. But again, we know we've got the keys to the locks, which we can help, people get back to a state of health and well-being. And like I said, we're not anti-medicine, and we're definitely not anti-medicine here at CHE. I'm not anti-medicine. I've got a lot of friends who are doctors. I always say it's like a scale. If I'm in a car accident, the first place I want to be is a hospital.
Absolutely.
They can put me back together again. Amazing. I'll be taking arnica if I'm conscious. But if I've got a chronic disease, then I'm going to look at other ways to try to get my body to heal itself before I go down any medical procedure or pharmaceutical drug, because I want to try to get my body to heal itself. So I think it's about choice. I think this is the key to all of this. It's about people can have choice around their healthcare. That's, to me, the ultimate. And that
it's also, I remember, I'll give you an example. When I was growing up, my father would, if we were sick, it was, just take this, and it was done. And we thought nothing of it. And we carried on playing outside. You'd injured yourself, you grazed yourself, or somebody hit you, and you're going crying. And you didn't know what it was, of course, something on the tongue. Take it, tasted great because it was a little sweetie. But I found as I've matured into homeopathy now, one of the beauties of homeopathy is very much that it diminishes the severity of being sick.
Yes.
Because I don't want to simplify it, but an example is that if you are sick, the beauty of homeopathy is you just go to the clinic and you say, okay, let me take this and this, and it's done. And then you carry on with your day rather than sit and think, your head in your hands thinking, oh my God, woe is me, something's wrong. What am I going to do? What am I going to get through to the GP? And again, going back to your point, that doesn't mean don't go to the GP. A lot of my patients, they have to go to the GP. But for general things, day-to-day acute ailments, cough, cold, fever, sore throat, a fall, some sort of acute trauma, it's just there, and the severity is reduced just by knowing, let me just take arnica or belladonna or something, and I'll be fine. And you carry on with your day.
Absolutely. And I think that is a key area, what you talked about, because really, I think people often get into homeopathy through the kids, through the, being sick, but a really great place to start is prescribing for yourself, home prescribing, because when you use homeopathy, and this is the thing, you've got to use it to see it. If you use it on yourself or use it on your kids, then you will see how it works and you'll get good at it. And what that does, it empowers you. So the simple things like, coughs and colds and things that you don't need to go and see the GP for, you can do it yourself and deal it with the home, just like our grandmothers did or our great grandmothers did. It's like, there was things that we use which they class as home remedies, but there's plenty of things in your kitchen. Your kitchen's a pharmacy. Really it is the pharmacy, from turmeric to honey to, everything. It can be potentially cayenne pepper. It can all be used as well as homeopathy. So I think a really great place to start is doing that acute prescribing, home prescribing. And my passion is for the next 25 years. Like Steve Jobs said, he wanted an iPhone in every hand. Well, I want a remedy kit in every home, because I think the more that we can empower people to take charge of their health and deal with these simple, acute things at home, the more people will become much more empowered around their health and won't go into that place of fear. Because what's fear? Fear is this lack of knowledge, lack of information. So we need to know this stuff, and that's my passion anyway. That's my dream, I think, for the next 25 years. Get a kit in every home.
Well, you've got my backing 100%. I tell you that straight away, and probably every other homeopath.
Yeah.
But I'll give you another example. Actually, my great granduncle, my granduncle, I would see him as an elderly man, and patients would come to him, and they were worried, of course. Oh, yeah. Something's wrong with me, and this is wrong, and that's. And he was so calm in nature, and I'm sure you and I are like this. I can't speak about myself, but certainly any homeopath is like that. And he would listen and he'd say, everything will be fine, or words to that effect. And he'd He'd go back into our pharmacy, the clinic, and he'd bring out some remedies. Sometimes they were in paper, wrapped in a bit of paper, single doses. And he said, take this on such and such, these intervals. And you could see the patient just being so relieved that someone had just simplified that process, removed the fear that, no, it's going to be all right. Don't worry, let me go and get this and take this and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And they'd always go back with a smile on their face. And that is also the power of homeopathy, because it's also spreading not just the power and efficacy of the remedies themselves, but the fact that you're spreading that love and compassion and goodwill and reassurance and removing fear.
Yes.
And of course, that's got to be good for the vital force, for the soul, for the mind,
Definitely. But it's also, he had certainty. So his certainty was he'd done this so many times before. And this is what's really important, especially when you're an experienced homeopath, is that when you experience, then you have certainty. So when you see the earache, the cough, the cold, the headache, there's a certainty there. And you say, take this, because you know the characteristic symptoms, the keynotes of the person, whatever they're suffering from. And it's the certainty. And that's what people pick up on. It's the certainty. And that's, like I said, that can dispel fear, that can dispel feelings of uncertainty. So, yeah, I agree. And that's why I'm a big advocate. I say to everybody listening, learn homeopathy, as in not necessarily a practitioner training, but do that if you feel you want to do that, but more about please learn home prescribing. Get a kit, learn how to prescribe for yourself, because the more that you do it, the more that you'll get better at it. And homeopathy, I'm gonna say something quite controversial now. Homeopathy is simple. It's a law of similars. So the law of similars. Now, I say that sort of half joking, but half not, because often homeopaths can complicate it too much. It's simple. It's a law of similars. We're looking for the most similar remedy. If you chop an onion up, your eyes water, your nose runs, or we use onion in a diluted amount. It's like a game of Snap. We're just trying to match the symptoms to the remedy.
That I 100% agree with you. You know why? Because that is actually true. You can complicate you can complicate things sometimes, and I often wonder, is there a need to? It's good because it's progress, but at the end of the day, if your symptoms match belladonna, and belladonna is going to be the remedy. Yeah. And you can look at it from any angle that you want. It's still going to go back to belladonna.
Exactly.
And, I learned, from a young age, keep things simple. Keep your head down, do the best that you can type of thing,
Absolutely.
And I think, again, that goes back to the point we were discussing, that because of the simplicity, it removes the fear element of being sick, being acute or chronic, either. Because it's like you think, oh, no, there is. You mentioned reassurance, and it is, because you think, oh, yeah, there's something for that. I'm sure you get the same calls that I get, where somebody says, oh, we've had this chronic ailment and it's been going on for years and years. And there's generally, the expression from experience is, oh, there's a remedy for that, or certainly I can help you. And people get really shocked and said, oh, but we've always been told there's no treatment. I said, no, this is the way. And in a majority of cases nowadays, sadly, I say, but in a positive light, because they all end up, of course, improving, is people say, oh, we've got such and such physical condition. And Marcus, sometimes your mind just goes, no, that's not, it's a physical manifestation of what's in your mind, all the trauma and things that you've been through in your life. And you mentioned that to the patient, and they always actually say, do you know what? That's right. You're right. Because I went through this.
Yeah.
And it's an education process, isn't it?
Well, that's part of our job. Part of our job is to help educate. So like you said, what we take for granted as homeopaths, the way we've been trained, the way we're doing things, a lot of people, they don't make the connection. Exactly. Somebody can come in with arthritis and you take the case, all the symptoms, what makes it better, what makes it worse. And the next question we ask as homeopaths is, when did it all start? Oh, we started 5 years ago. And the next question will be, well, what was happening in your life 5 years ago? Well, what do you mean? And often nobody's ever asked them that, ever. And you go, well, anything going on for you physically, any trauma, mental, emotional, anything? Well, that's when I split up with my husband. Oh, okay. And you can see the body language changes and and he stops swallowing. Oh, okay. So how was that? Oh, it's fine. He was no good and da 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 da. Okay, and you presume for. So what happened? Oh yeah, well, he had an affair with my best friend. I've never forgiven him. And you can see they're still stuck in that place of grief, resentment, anger, whatever we want to call it. That's where, as homeopaths, we'll aim our prescription. We'll aim it at, like you said, the arthritis is an external manifestation of their internal state. They're still there where they were 5 years ago. So you give them a remedy for that. It could be nature meal stuff, whatever remedy you give them. And they come back and say, how are you? And they go, yeah, my arthritis is like 50% better. But what was that remedy you gave? I couldn't stop crying for 3 days. I was dreaming about my ex-husband and I was shouting at him in my dream. And then I forgave him. We're crying, we're hugging each other. And I feel like a weight's lifted off me. And as you said, we've got to the cause of the issue, not just treating the symptoms. And this is where we differ, don't we, from allopathy, whereas we treat people, we just don't, not just treating symptoms. And I always use this analogy of a car dashboard. And if people know me, they'll get sick of hearing me say this, but it's such a good analogy.
Do share.
I always say it's like a car dashboard. If your oil light flashes, it means there's something wrong in the engine. But if you just take the bulb out or just suppress the symptoms, there's still a problem in the engine and the car's going to break down 2 or 3 miles down the road. So our job as homeopaths is get into the engine, get to the cause. That could be mental, it could be emotional, it could be physical, it could be whatever it is. Just deal with the cause and then the light will go off by itself because you fix the problem. And that's, to me, the different paradigm between the allopathic way of looking at things, suppressing symptoms, and homeopathic, where we deal with the cause and treat the person as a whole.
It's truly being at one with nature, isn't it?
Absolutely. In alignment with ourselves, that's the key. Because what is dis-ease? Dis-ease is 2 words. And often it's dis-ease because people aren't living their truth of who they are. They're in a relationship they don't want to be in. They're in a job they don't want to be in. And that's the issue. And it's like when we get to a place of health and vitality, then we're in much more alignment of who we are and living our truth, whatever that may be. And circling back to what we said about the pandemic, this is the biggest thing I saw when I'm doing interviews for our courses, was that people were looking for more purpose and meaning in their life. So the kids may be going to school now and they've got free time or they've left home or whatever, but they realize actually they want to be living their truth. And that's all we can ever do. And that's what I feel we do with homeopathy. The remedies balance people back in alignment to who they really are.
For Marcus, I'm just thinking that nowadays, on a sort of a worrying note here, I suppose, is that I find that a lot of young people who've got years ahead of them are becoming unwell or diseased. And that's a worry, isn't it? Because on a positive front, homeopathy is absolutely phenomenal and fantastic at healing and helping. But the trend itself is a bit of a worry, isn't it? That youngsters are presenting a myriad of complaints at an age when you're supposed to be enjoying your life and learning and really getting out there, 18, 19, 20, 21. Those sort of that sensitive age, where you are really from teenage years, you're becoming a young adult and then into adulthood.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And I think especially around mental health, around anxiety, around that is epidemic. It's an epidemic, really, I think. But you're right. Also, this people's young people's sort of state is. But then you look at the history of what's gone on in the past 20, 30 years, from everything from from hormones in the water supply, and in food, and just the way that everything's processed, the way we live our life. You could blame social media, but I still go back to the thing is that that health is innate, that resilience is innate. And so like things like homeopathy can help people get back and connected to that resilience, that innate health, because we're born with it. to me, we're born with it. And I think anything that can, and there's other things that can help people get back, like meditation, for example. Now, when I was meditating, I've been meditating for 30 odd years. Nobody meditated who I knew. Now you can get so many apps on meditation, and people are it's like it's part of the culture now. So I think as well, I've got great faith in young people. I've got great faith in each generation that comes forward. They've got their challenges like we had our challenges. And I think the best thing we can do is just help the younger generation coming through to help them be resilient. And that is connecting back to that innate health that we all have. It's there. We're born with it. It's our birthright.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
Now, moving back to CHE, I know that the motivation has very much been to continue the legacy of homeopaths that, have helped you. In fact, it's a very close objective to my podcast as well, because the objective of the podcast is to bring on people like yourself, Marcus, and many other homeopaths, students of homeopathy, anybody who loves homeopathy, give them the platform and say, hey, talk about it. You share your experiences and your journey. Do tell us about the work that the centre is involved with, some of the courses perhaps that you're offering. You did mention the home prescribing course during the pandemic, of course.
Yeah.
And I know that you do a licensette program as well.
Yes. So basically we do everything from, with the CHE, the Centre for Homeopathic Education. So we do everything from home prescriber level all the way to practitioner, and we also do CPD, postgraduate programs. And for many years, we ran the degree program, the BSc with Middlesex University from 2005 to 2017. And then Middlesex, in their divine wisdom, closed down their complementary medicine department because they had acupuncture, nutrition, homeopathy, Chinese medicine. But the courses that we run, yes, we can do home prescribing. That's free. You can go to our website, chehomeopathy.com, and you can download the free. And I say to everybody, please get that because it's so useful. Even if you don't want to train as a practitioner. But then some people go, well, I'd really like to know more. They do the home prescriber. We'd love to do more, but I'm not sure. I know whether or not I want to be a practitioner. I'm not sure whether or not I could deal with the study that goes with that. Then we have a thing called the foundation course, which is a 1-year course. You can do it all online or in the classroom here in Bloomsbury Square in London. And that's 10 modules from September till June. Or you can say, you know what? I want to be a practitioner. I wanted to do it for many years. Now's the time to do it. Well, you can do that 4 years part-time. So that's the classroom, 1 weekend a month over 10 months from September to June. Or you can do it online, again, the same thing from September to June, and it's one module which is released every month. So you can study in your own home. Or we have a 2-year fast track. So some people, they don't only do part-time, they just want to do it. They're obsessed with homeopathy. They want to really do it. So you can do a 2-year fast track, and that's online only. But it's not just about watching our online course. It's not just watching recorded lectures, which you do, but also we have live tutorials, we'll have live clinics, all done online. So we have students from all over the world on those courses, and we get to know you really well. So it's a live element, as in online live for the online courses, as well as watching recorded material. We also have schools now in Turkey affiliated, and Budapest, as I said, in Hungary, Bulgaria, Poland. So we have these accredited schools that are connected to us. So yeah, there's a lot going on.
And what's the path ahead? What's CHE involved with? What are you involved with? I hope there's a book on the way.
Oh, well, I did. Yeah, no, I did. Well, during the lockdown pandemic, Walida asked me, would I write a book?
Right.
On home prescribing. So I did. I wrote a book called The Home Prescriber, which you can get from the Walida. And that was really interesting to write, because I can see I'm passionate about home prescribing, Because what he did when I wrote, I wasn't my ambition to write a book on home prescribing, but what he did when I started writing it, I'd come full circle. So when I first started out in practice, and I was only like 23, was young, nearly 30 years ago now, I used to run a mother and baby clinic in Islington in London. And I used to teach parents how to use the remedy kits and how to use the remedies. I used to do these short little courses, 6-week courses where they come down, I'd share. And this writing this book really reconnected me back to do that. And so writing this it really ignited my passion and realized, which I already know deeply, that homeopathy is the medicine of the people. And the more that we can get this into people's homes, that they know about it, the more not only will their health improve, but also the health of the families and the communities. And we can pass this on. So, as I said, my next goal, as I said, Steve Jobs wanted to get an iPhone in everybody's hands. I want to get a remedy kit in everybody's home. So this is part of my next objective. But also just to continue what we do, training homeopaths, training people all different levels. So the more that we can raise the standard of homeopathy, the more that everybody benefits. We just keep raising that standard. And what we teach at CHE is not this theory. Okay, we teach you how to apply this. This is so crucial that you learn from people that are doing it day in, day out. Everybody at CHE is all in full-time practice, homeopathic practice. So that's a really important thing for us, because I want people to be sharing the information that are doing it. They're teaching you what they do. And to me, then we can only improve as a profession as we go forward.
This objective and this wish and desire of yours to have, everyone should have a homeopathic kit at home. I think, Marcus, talking to you, the vitality and the sheer passion that you have, I think you're going to be very, very successful in doing it. And I think every homeopath in this country certainly is going to back you behind it. You've got my backing 100%,
Right.
And may it happen very, very, very soon indeed. This is the right time. Like we said right at the beginning, homeopathy is booming.
Yeah.
People are genuinely interested and there's a thirst for knowledge. Why does it work? How does it work? Who was Dr. Hahnemann? Who are the homeopaths today? What do they talk about? What are the different modalities within homeopathy, the umbrella?
Absolutely.
Why does it work?
Yeah. Sorry.
No, please.
No, and also I think, sometimes you get, which, we've had over the years, skepticism about homeopathy. Oh, homeopathy it's placebo, Listen, placebo plays a part in any therapeutic relationship, but it's not the only thing for homeopathy. But when people say homeopathy is a lot of rubbish, it doesn't work, I often will say, well, what's your experience of it? And often they haven't got any, it's just what they've read. And I would say, hey, look, the proof's in the pudding. Try it. If you just try it. That's all we're asking people to do. Just try it. And if you don't like it, great. That's your choice. So to me, it's about back to that point about choice, about your healthcare. It's like we should all have a choice about it.
Absolutely. Marcus, it's been fascinating. I wish I could talk to you. You're the type of person I can talk to for hours and hours, and I've learned a great deal, and I know that this is going to be one of the more popular podcasts, certainly. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I wish you the greatest success moving forward. And of course, I hope later this year you'll come back and talk to us some more. So thank you so much for being on the Homeopathy Health podcast. God bless you.
Thank you very much, and thanks for asking me. Thank you.
And now it's time for reflection with poems of healing. This one is called Journey of Life. There are days where we feel deeply our inner voice and live clearly with its noise. It doesn't matter if the voice is a cry of a wild bear or a sweet whisper of a mum in her toddler's ear. The clearer we hear it, the stronger we are. Paths can cross or be far, can be highways or slippery slopes, can be concave or convex. There will always be something, someone to shut you down. Life is like a puzzle with black and white pieces, and we spend our lives looking for purples. Surfing colours and curves, speedy or slow, and at some moments we drop the anchors. We can do nothing but wait. Wait till breeze brings us to the ascending arc of the curve, and we continue the move until hugging the shore. Lying down, appreciate the extreme straightness of the horizon and the brightness of the sky. By dusty days and from the heart of the storms, there's always a hope, there's always a sound of music coming from far away. There's always a dance to share, a life to care, and may devils be judged and remain in hell, they could never change the warmth of mornings and the rhythm of seasons, do they dare. This poem was written by Ilham Brini, taken from Sauti, Poems of Healing, published by the United Nations. I do hope you've enjoyed the Homeopathy Health Show here on UK Health Radio, the world's #1 talk health radio. Tune in next time for more things homeopathy, interviews and segments on the healing possibilities that homeopathy can bring you. And don't forget to visit UK Health Radio online at www.ukhealthradio.com to see the many other amazing shows available to listen live and on demand. Or why not download the app from the iOS and Android stores. Until next time, stay safe and take care.